Good evening. Guess I need to tap that. Welcome to the August 22nd regular meeting of the Novi Board of Education. I would,
You're in roll call.
I'm on the wrong page. Roll call. I would appreciate a roll call vote for you, Mr. Mena.
Sure, Trustee Murphy,
Here.
Trustee Stevenson,
She called. Her mom is in the hospital.
Trustee Mena's here, Trustee Cook,
Here.
Trustee Hood, no,
She
Trustee O'Connor,
Here.
Trustee Smith, no.
And he was on vacation, so we're missing a few tonight. But if the rest of you will please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now our first item on our agenda is to approve the agenda. I would entertain a motion. Mr. Cook, or Mr. O'Connor?
I have a question about the agenda before we approve it. We've got the Journalism and Education Association field trip, and I don't see it on the agenda. Is that consent items, or is
It's
it
under
information?
That's an information because
Okay.
it's a new field trip.
Okay, so it's under information, okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you. So I just needed a clarification.
Oh, it's not on the paper sheet. Yeah, information and discussion. Is that it?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Support?
It's been moved by Mr. Cook and supported by Mr. Mena. I will call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next is our first opportunity for comments from the audience. This is the first opportunity for comments related to agenda items only. If you do have a comment, if you'd fill out a green card in the back and stick it on the end of the table, I guess. I'm not seeing anyone move to get a green card, so I'm going to make the scary assumption that maybe no one is coming to the podium to speak this evening. Next, unless anyone wants to speak, going once, going twice. Okay, consent items. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. The consent items this evening are approval of the minutes from the regular and work session of August 9th, the approval of bills, and the approval of a dance company field trip that has been taken in the past, and so it's under consent.
Mr.
So a question before we move ahead with this. This is more of a formatting issue from my perspective, and I just wanted to bounce this off the board. The minutes on the work session, it looks like we're using the format to see who's present and what's going on in the votes, a format that's similar to our closed sessions. And I'm just a little concerned. This is more of a perception thing. I mean, these work sessions are open, we record them, and I'm wondering if we can just, in the future, look at changing the format of the minutes, because it really is a regular board meeting. So instead of it looking like, I mean, this is the form that we use like when we go into closed session. So even if it's just a couple of paragraphs on what we discussed and the questions, I just think from a public perspective it might look a little better, because it is an open meeting, as opposed to this format, which is when we really do go into closed session.
So you'd like them just to look like more like our regular meeting minutes?
Yeah, because it really is.
It is a regular
And I
meeting,
just
yeah.
don't want to create the perception that it looks like we're going into a closed session when it's open to the public.
Right. Okay, so a few words about what each of the
Yeah,
items we discussed at
Yeah,
that.
just a paragraph or two, yeah.
Okay, I don't think that would be,
Yep.
it should be,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I
And
think-
the other thing was, when I first looked them over, when you've got the names being circled and they're all listed on present and absent, it can be confusing. Our regular meetings, we don't have the names there and absent unless they're absent, so.
Okay, that makes sense.
all right. I think the thing is, Sheila's not always at our work session
Right.
meeting, so we'll just have to make sure that one of the secretary maybe takes the notes, or you
We'll
take
figure it
notes.
out. Yep.
All right, perfect. All
Well,
right,
it is recorded, so it's not like, I mean.
Yeah,
you
she can go back
Just
and-
to glean a paragraph or two. I mean, I agree, we don't necessarily need to go into detail because it is recorded.
all right, yes,
Move to accept consent items as presented?
I'll support that.
okay. It's been moved by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. O'Connor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Next, we have our action items. The first is our personnel report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, and I will turn to Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. I have a long report this evening. First, our new hires. Christy Dorch, who will be a social worker at Deerfield. Deanna Fielder, social worker at the high school. Catherine James, science teacher at the high school. Jennifer Mills, a speech pathologist at Orchard Hills and Village Oaks. Ruth Rufful, teacher at Parkview. Nicole Rosemary, special education teacher at Orchard Hills and Village Oaks. Sabrina Shields, a special education teacher at NATC. And Garrett Zook, a math teacher at the high school. We also have Jessica Abdullah, who will be an ESL teacher in adult education. Jennifer Brownell, a special ed parapro at Parkview. Nicole Saad, a special ed parapro at NATC. And Carrie Newseiler, a bus driver in transportation. Resignations and retirements. Evan Blanchard was a music teacher at the middle school, resignation. Susan Duda, secretary at the middle school, a retirement. Hanadi Foss, a social worker at Deerfield, a resignation. Julia Grazer, another resignation, a teacher at Parkview. Elizabeth Hogan, a secretary at the high school, a retirement. Michael McMillan, transportation assistant, a retirement. Michael Renner, a discharged, this is a bus driver. Evalicia Smith, ESL, Title I coordinator, this is retirement, Alice Smith. And Emily Wag, an adult education teacher, this is a resignation, ITC.
Great. I would like to entertain a motion before we have discussion with someone. Mr. Cook.
I move that the Novi School Board adopts the personnel report recommendations as presented.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mr. Cook. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Mena. Mr. O'Connor.
Just a couple of comments and questions. First, so sad to see the retirement of Alice Smith. Certainly, she's been a pillar of success with our ESL program and really a foundation, so she's going to be deeply missed. Just a couple of quick questions on the retirements. We've got 4 retirements, so from a financial or budget standpoint, do these retirements, they are now part of our 2018-19 budget?
Correct.
So those would apply to what we budgeted, what we projected for next year then. So these are. The other question I had in terms of the resignations, we had 2 teachers resign. Did they go to other school districts, or do we know the reasons? I'm just, concerned about, making sure that
So
we're
one of
retaining.
them was a music teacher who went on a leave, and upon return of his leave, the position had been filled already.
Gotcha, okay, that makes sense.
And the other one,
So the Parkview teacher,
she moved to the west side of the state.
okay, so it was a move.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure our retention levels are high, which they have been. I just wanted to double check. Thank you so much.
I do have a quick question. So does the type of leave matter if somebody comes back?
Yeah, so our teachers and our licensed non-classroom personnel are in different categories, so the leave language, they have different leave languages, and this came about when the legislature identified some prohibited subjects of bargaining. It resulted in some changes in contract language roughly 5 or 6 years ago, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarification. Your explanation of the retirement spurred the question, so I appreciate that. I see here that Evalicia is not leaving till the 30th. Will that
Correct.
give us time to
Yep.
find someone and
Right.
have her?
Because she identified early, we were able to post that and hopefully get somebody in place so that there won't be a lapse between her leaving and the new person.
Will there maybe be a little overlap so that she can assist
potentially
with the
there will.
training?
Mhm.
I mean, I would think that would be helpful for the new coming person. And I am sorry, Beth Hogan has been at the high school a long time, and I know that she is on the ball all the time,
Yes,
because
she
I've
is.
had to call her with many questions, and she always has the answer or gets back to me immediately. So I know that she'll be missed over at the high school as well. But she's not leaving till the 26th of October, so I'll at least get over there to say farewell. So, all right. And I see you've obviously some of these new hires are coming in to replace the ones that are on this
Correct.
sheet. So that's fantastic.
I would like to say how appreciative I am of Kathy Donovan's incredibly hard work in the last 2 weeks to process paperwork for this many people. She has worked at a frantic but thorough pace.
Yeah, it's unusual that we are able to have them on the same sheet, which is nice to see that we're moving in that
We have new
direction.
teacher orientation tomorrow, so we were very motivated to get this done and
Fantastic.
impact on Monday.
Fantastic.
Are we in pretty good shape for Monday?
We are complete.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's.
Well, nice job.
That's great. Usually we have one or two strikers, so,
Yeah,
oh, great.
that's fantastic. All right, it's been moved and supported, so I will call the question. All those in favor of accepting the personnel report as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries 4-0. Next, we have our Assistant Superintendent Contract Renewal, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. The current assistant superintendent contracts expire on June 30th, 2019. Based on their positive evaluation and their job performance, it's recommended that the superintendent be authorized to extend the following assistant superintendent contracts through June 30, 2020. It would be Assistant Superintendent of Academics, Dr. Weber, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Kinzer, and Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations, Ms. Minnick.
All right, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Mena.
I move that we renew the contracts of the assistant superintendents as noted.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. O'Connor. Any discussion on the contracts? Yes.
In the past, I've had some heartburn over this because of the alignment of the evaluation of superintendent on down and the evaluation of administration and everything. I still have that heartburn, but, you know, as I've gotten to know all these people and, you know, working with them, you know, I don't see any reason not to, even though we need to get that alignment there. I just want to make it known that I still have a problem with the alignment of the direction we're giving the superintendent and then the direction it's going from then on down in the evaluation systems, so.
All right. Mr. O'Connor?
I would agree with that comment, but I don't think it should affect this vote in terms of the contract renewal, but I do think we really should try to focus on that alignment as much as possible.
Great. Mr. Kinzer and I have had that conversation after some of the board discussions that maybe we need to be looking at that. So hopefully, at some point, I know I think you told us all that you were working with, or maybe I made the comment, you're working with a group with our teacher evaluations to give some more dialogue
Yep.
possibilities. So there's maybe some potential changes going on in that.
We want to be very confident that we are getting full value out of our observation system across the board.
Okay. So we'll just kind of keep us apprised maybe of the direction that's going so that if we are aligning, we're aligning with the right thing. Okay, fantastic. All right, I will call the question for the Assistant Superintendent Contract Renewals. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next, we have a maintenance equipment purchase. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. In review of the district's maintenance equipment, it was determined that the 1997 Ford 545 tractor loader should be replaced. This was presented to the board at our last meeting. Mr. Dragoo, our Director of Maintenance, recommends replacing it with a Case 221F and explains in the paperwork that you have how that would meet our needs. We were able to get this through a cooperative bid, and so we would recommend that the board approve this purchase of $69,558.83. And the funds come from the 2014 bond.
All right, terrific. I would entertain a motion.
I'll move that in the best interest of the Novi School District, the Board of Education approve the purchase of the maintenance equipment through Southeastern Equipment in Novi in the amount of $69,558.83, and further that the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations be authorized to expend the funds from the 2014 bond funds.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Mr. O'Connor and supported by Mr. Cook. Questions, Mr. O'Connor?
Just one comment, observation from last week. I obviously like Mr. Dragoo. I think he does a great job. Sometimes I wonder if he's a little too shy. And I mean, I'm not all for spending tons of money, but I mean, you know, this is 12. What is it? No, it's not 12. It's 20 plus, almost 20 years old equipment. I just hope that as you're overseeing this in terms of the assessments, that you know, if his group needs stuff, you know, now's the time when we have the finances to do it. That let's
Yes.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, I appreciate your comments. We've been working on this purchase since last fall, and taking into consideration his team's comments too, and the folks that'll be using it. So
Cool, thank you.
it was thoroughly vetted.
Fantastic.
Did you get to take a test drive?
Not yet. I intend to.
All right, terrific. I will call the question. All right, yes. All those in favor of the maintenance equipment purchase of the F-22 tractor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Next, we have the approval of the superintendent evaluation, and it's okay with Dr. Matthews. Actually, I'll take this one on because that might be a little awkward. We have met on to go over Dr. Matthews' superintendent evaluation. We had to vote on a couple of items. We met in closed session as per Dr. Matthews' request to come to consensus on the different areas in the different performance indicators, and we have come to consensus on that. I'm going to read each performance indicator. We did that last time. With the board's permission, I'd just like to read the domain scores if people are comfortable with that. So the calculated domain score. So there's several performance indicators that we go through. Government board relations. The category rating for that was 3.16. Out of 4.
Right.
Sorry. For community relations, it was 3.5. All these will be out of 4. Thank you. The staff relations category was 3.71. Our business and finance rating, category rating was 3.7. Instructional reading, sorry, I'm going through this different. Instructional leadership, excuse me. The category rating was 3.83. He got a 3.603 on the professional practice rating. That's overall. The student growth rating was 3.33, and progress towards district-wide goals was 3.47. So the total score was 3.505, which is a rating of, you didn't mark that on here.
At the very bottom.
At the very bottom. Effective. Fantastic. So the evaluation rating ended up 87.5. There's different weighted scores, and the highly effective is 90 to 100. Effective is 75 to 89. Effective 60 to 74. Minimally effective less than 60. Dr. Matthews' score was 87.5, which is an effective rating. So I would appreciate a motion to approve the superintendent evaluation that we worked so hard on. Mr.
A
Mena.
motion to adopt the 2017-2018 year-end superintendent evaluation and rate him as effective.
I'll support that.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. O'Connor. Without further discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Next for information is our information discussion. We have a field trip, Dr. Matthews.
Yes, we do, Ms. Murphy. It's a journalism news media field trip to Chicago in November. Lydia Cadena and Rachel Mercer, teachers at Novi High School, are requesting that the Novi Journalism and News Media students attend the Journalism Education Association convention in Chicago. They will travel by Amtrak train and will attend the convention workshops each day, attending customized session in writing, photography, design, broadcast video, packaging, interviewing, and more. The tentative cost of $500 includes lodging, transportation, convention fees, and food. Students will leave Ann Arbor on the Amtrak train and arrive at the Chicago Union Station. They will stay at the Hyatt Regency in Chicago and will miss 2 days of school to attend this trip. This comes before the board for information and discussion this evening. It will come back to the board for approval at the September 6th, 2018 regular board meeting.
Okay, so discussion, Mr. O'Connor.
So I clearly have a bias on this field trip, given the fact that I'm an ex-journalist, but also my daughter's been a guest speaker at this conference over the years, and this is a great program. This is basically the national organization that complements the MIPA, the Michigan Interscholastic Press Association, which is the state association, and it really is a good trip, and it does have a lot of great different things for the students in terms of learning not just journalism, but broadcasting, yearbook, et cetera. My only question on this is, and I know we have a thin board for voting tonight, but bringing it back September 6th, and they do have to do some fundraising, is that going to give them enough time, only just a couple of months? Or, again, I don't want to be presumptuous, but if it would help them, even though it's a thin board tonight, I wouldn't mind proposing that we move this to an action item as well to give them more time, if they need it. I don't know.
My sense would be they always could use extra time for fundraising, but we're trying to encourage them to get these to the board in a timely manner, and this was the first one, the first opportunity we had to bring it to the board, and we know that because it's a new field trip, it requires 2 meetings, but I'm sure that they would appreciate it if the board did move this to action, although they are expecting that the action would come September 6th.
Okay, I don't need to push it, I would just, it's fine.
And and pending anything crazy news that comes out of it, I would definitely support this. I think it's a worthwhile trip.
Yeah, and I've read through it. I think that it looks like it's something that will certainly benefit those kids in those classes. I mean,
And experienced teachers.
yeah, and my guess is it's not always in Chicago, so it's probably in places that might be a little even more cost prohibitive to attend in the future, so it'd be nice to give the kids that are interested in that the opportunity. Yes.
My comment is more with the form. In the past, there used to be a line on the form, and this kind of comes from the dance one also, the dance group's field trip. There used to be a line on there where it said, "Have you done it? Have you sponsored this trip in the past?" And
Yeah, it still
When-
says that.
I didn't see it on this one, but okay. I just want to make sure and that they are filling out. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's just right under the top, so it's easy to miss because.
As I'm glancing through it real quickly and what they filled out, and
Yeah.
but
I think that's a little bit of a telegraph to them, right? that it would be safe to probably start.
Well, I think they have information on here now that they've changed that fundraising has to occur after the board's approval.
it does state it has to occur after
But
the
school
board's
does not
approval.
start until September.
Right, that's why I was bringing it up.
Right.
I mean,
School starts the 4th. I don't know
either way.
what
And
they're going to do before that.
the cost of this trip is
A lot
less than
some
half
others.
than of the dance trip that's coming up too, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This will come back then for approval at September 6th meeting. That'll give the other board members, if they do have questions about it, the opportunity to get those addressed before we move into that. So next is our next opportunity for comments from the audience. This is about anything within our jurisdiction. If you do have something that you would like to address the board on, it's not a time that we will necessarily be responding, but we may direct the administration to respond as appropriate. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. My superintendent's report is brief this evening as we have a work session after this meeting. I would just like to extend my appreciation to the assistant superintendents and the administrative team. The beginning of school is always a very exciting time, but it requires a lot of work to get things up and running. Ms. Minnick, Dr. Kinzer, and Dr. Weber have done an outstanding job of preparing our district for the beginning of school. Monday, August 27th, we start with Impact, and Dr. Weber and his team have done a lot of work to create 2 full days of opportunities for our teachers and administrators to prepare them for the start of school. Dr. Kinzer, as was noted earlier this evening, his office has done a lot of work to get staff ready, and we're fully staffed, and we really do appreciate that. And Ms. Minnick has been working all summer to make sure the projects around the district are done in a timely fashion so that our students and teachers and staff can come back to buildings that are ready for them. So I'd like to extend my appreciation to the 3 of them for the work that they have done. I would also like to extend to our community the opportunity to begin attending events at our schools. We had a soccer game on Monday. We have a football game tomorrow night. We have lots of volleyball, tennis, cross-country, other kinds of activities throughout the course of the next several weeks and months. And so I would encourage our community to come and support our students as they wear Novi with pride and do their best to represent us in a respectful and competitive manner. So that's my report this evening.
Fantastic. Thank you. Mr. O'Connor.
Just had a couple questions. With staff coming back next week, do we have a status on our student growth model and our merit program and when that might come before the board? I'm just concerned with school start.
Yep, that will come. We hope to bring that to the board in September so that we can kind of wrap that up by the end of September, and everybody would be in agreement as to what how we're gonna use those measurements as we move forward in the 18-19 year.
I just wouldn't want to to go any later.
Right.
With the, yeah.
We did have
with the school.
one meeting already of the committee.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yes, we had one meeting of the merit
Oh,
committee
okay.
already.
Yeah, they've had a meeting already.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear the outcome. I know.
There was no outcome. We're planning another
Discussion.
meeting.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, fantastic. Next, we have our administrative reports. Ms. Minnick.
Thank you. As Dr. Matthews mentioned, we are wrapping up construction projects around the district so that we are ready for the return of students. Speaking of construction projects, it looks like Taft Road will be complete in time for school, so Ms. Valentine will not have to reroute our buses, so that's a blessing. And in the business office, we are wrapping up the 17-18 school year in preparation for our audit, which begins on the first day of school as well. And we're opening our kitchens and getting food service prepared for opening as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. So glad to hear about Taft Road. That is, I'm sure that's very good news for the community and for you all who've been dealing with it for the last however many weeks. Anyways, terrific. Thank you. Dr. Kinzel.
Tomorrow morning, this room will be full with approximately 38 new teachers, as well as 3 new administrators for our new staff orientation. We have a full day planned with presentations from the Office of Human Resources, the Office of Academics, the Business Office. We'll also do some kind of collaboration time in the afternoon with our group to help them come together as a cohort of new teachers. And we'll finish the day with the bus tour.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Great. Look forward to it.
I'm going to start with a complaint, and then go off of something that Mr. O'Connor said. So went to the soccer game Monday night, right?
Yeah.
And there with my son Ian. Ball bounces, comes over the fence. Ian catches the ball. Brian Gordon, our athletic director, is there. He won't let my son keep the ball. He informs me it's not Comerica Park, and the soccer balls cost $60, and it better go over that fence in 3 seconds. So if anybody on the board could address that, my son cried himself to sleep that night. He didn't. But on the part of the privilege that we have in serving in this district, really much of that is who we get to serve beside. And Alice Smith is somebody I've had the privilege of knowing as I enter my 9th year here in Novi for every day that I've been here. My very first day of employment in the district, I met Alice. Alice Smith is, as Dennis said, really, and I'll get emotional, extraordinary woman. I've seen her make difficult decisions, courageous decisions with grace, humility, and will that have really, truly helped our district become a destination district for our English language learners. If you look at the number of English language learners and families that were here 8, 9, 10 years ago, you can draw a direct line to Alice Smith and the amount of care that she has put in that programming, the quality of the programming, the people that work beside her, her vision, her tireless work ethic. The woman is in here on Saturdays, on Sundays. She absolutely does whatever it takes to make sure that our students who are English language learners have the absolute best opportunity to succeed. And there's a moral and ethical reason behind that. Alice is an amazing woman of faith. Faith is incredibly important to Alice. And that drives her. But another part is, and as I think of Ms. Minnick and what she's tasked with doing, becoming a destination district for those families also has a benefit for our entire school district. In the sense of, as we attract families from around the world to live here because of how we care for them, how we work with them, that brings students into our district. As Dr. Matthews knows, many districts around the state have a declining enrollment year after year after year. Alice Smith's care for populations where English is a second language has really made us a destination district. We're going to miss the heck out of her. She's actually leaving in mid-November. We're trying to get our heads around, how do you replace that, right? I mean, I can't begin to think about that one. But if you see Alice in the next couple months or so, and you have an opportunity to say thank you or to just talk to her a little bit, she would take that deeply, deeply to heart. It means a tremendous amount to her, and I love her, and I'm going to miss her. So much love, Alice. Dennis?
If I could echo what you said, Dr. Weber, one of the things that I remember about Alice Smith that was really very emotional for me as well is, it was, I believe, in 08 or 09. As most of you know, I have a reputation for not always agreeing with administration on certain issues.
I've never really noticed
and Mrs. Murphy, you'll remember that during the budget cuts, it was one of the things that I was vehemently against. Mrs. Smith was one of the, unfortunately, was laid off because we were going through, I think, $3 million in 09 in budget cuts. But even during that time, as heartbreaking as it was, she stayed close to the district. She made calls, she checked in, and we were quick to bring her back as quickly as we could. But she always stayed connected even during that real rough time. I know it was emotional for everybody, but it just showed, you mentioned her character. The fact that she would still stay close and make phone calls and help people, because it was a terrible time just in terms of trying a transition and trying to, with the growth of her ESL students. So it just shows about her character and what she's all about.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor.
She will be very difficult to replace, very, very difficult. All right, next we have the first board communication. Are there board members that have things that they'd like to share with the board, things that they've been engaged in or doing or otherwise? I know you've been doing a lot of football, and that's
Maybe for next meeting.
next meeting, okay. Well, we'll give you a break. Now, our first football game's tomorrow night, so home opener. So, well, I shouldn't say our first football game, the second football game's tomorrow night.
I do have a question. We had a teacher that went on a educational sabbatical last year for big history. And part of that, the condition of that was to have a report out on what they had learned and what they were researching. And
I'll get that report to them.
I do look forward to that because my son is kind of taking an interest in that. And
Yeah, good follow-up, thank you.
I will add that since you kind of brought it up earlier, and so did Dr. Matthews, all of our events at the high school stadium and the performance gym are televised over the NFHS network. You can watch all these live over the internet. The easy link is novaathletics.tv. And they have different subscriptions. For $60, you can get a subscription to the entire school year. And it's great. A lot of that money goes back to the athletic department. And not only that, if you happen to have any nieces or nephews who happen to be out of state who also play athletics, you'll be able to watch them as well should their school be broadcasting. So just wanted to let folks know that was available.
So that subscription covers other schools?
It does.
Oh, well, good. I don't know what our mechanism is for communicating that to grandparents, but that seems like that might be a wise thing to do. So I did not realize that would cover additional events. So thanks for sharing that. Anything from you, Mr. O'Connor? For
No,
communication?
sir.
Okay, just real quickly, I want to say thank you to some of us spent our weekend last weekend. Was it last weekend, Mr. Cook? At the MASB Summer Leadership Institute, which was here in Novi, which was a very nice feature. We didn't have to fight traffic or have any hotel room expenses or anything to be there, but some of us spent our weekend there. Mr. Cook and I saw Mrs. Hood.
did have to put up with road construction.
That's true anywhere. But anyways, it was a good event. I know that some of the information I've given to Sheila, she'll probably be posting it online in resources. And we've had a couple of conversations with Dr. Matthews about some of the things that I came back and learned and thought might be helpful to share with him about the district. So I hope I would encourage the other board members to do the same if there's things that you feel like need shared. That is the end of our regular meeting. We'll be going into a work session after this to discuss goals for next year that we will include on the superintendent evaluation for next year. It is just a work session, so it's a little more informal, and we will not be doing any voting or taking any additional action at that meeting. So I would entertain a motion now.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. It's been moved by Mr. Cook and supported by Mr. Mena that we adjourn the regular meeting. So without further ado, I will call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We'll take a 5-minute break and return at 7:40.